Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
I don't know. I just came in. I was sleeping with my kids.
Okay, I can't understand you. I need you to take a deep breath. What's going on?
I don't know. I was sleeping in with my kids. I just came in our bed, and I turned over, and he's just cold. He's just cold.
Who's cold?
My husband. I just like.
It's early March 2022. The mountains of Utah are still covered in snow. In a quiet house in Camas, a small town just outside of Park City, 3 little boys are sleeping soundly in their beds. Their father, Eric Richins, a hard-working, outdoorsy, deeply loved man, is lying in the master bedroom, cold, still, gone. His wife, Kouri Richins, is the one who calls 911, just after 3 in the morning. She tells the operator she went to check on her husband and found him unresponsive. She says she doesn't know what happened. But here is what investigators would later discover. Eric Richins didn't die of a heart attack. He didn't have an accident. He was poisoned by his wife with 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl, hidden in a cocktail she made him with her own hands. And after she killed him, Kouri Richins wrote a children's book about grief. This is the story of one of the most cold-blooded, calculated, and deeply twisted true crime cases in recent memory. Stay with me and stick to the end. To truly understand this story, we have to start with Eric. Eric Eugene Richins was born on May 13, 1982, in Utah. From the very beginning, he was described by everyone who knew him as a man of integrity, hard work, and warmth. He was an avid outdoorsman, a dedicated hunter, a man who loved his cattle ranch, mountains, and most of all, his family. He ran a successful stonemasonry business called C&E Stonemasonry alongside a business partner, and by all accounts, he was the kind of man who built things, literally and figuratively. He was dependable, he was present, and when he became a father to 3 boys, those who knew him said fatherhood lit him up in a way nothing else could. Eric's family described him as the kind of person who showed up, who called to check in, who remembered birthdays. His friends said he had no history of drug use, no illicit substances, no prescription abuse, nothing. He was clean-cut, grounded, and healthy. He had every reason in the world to live. His boys were 9, 7, and 5 years old when he died.
Now let's see who Kouri was. Kouri Darden Richins was born on April 20th, 1990, making her about 8 years younger than Eric. By all surface appearances, she was the picture of suburban success. She worked as a real estate agent and house flipper. She had a beautiful home, 3 healthy children, a hard-working husband, a life that looked, from the outside, like a dream. But behind that curated image was a very different reality. Kouri was obsessed with appearing wealthy, successful, and powerful. Prosecutors would later describe her as someone consumed by the desire to be seen as affluent, even when her finances told a completely different story. Because the truth was, Kouri Richins was drowning in debt. She had launched her own real estate investment company, K. Richins Realty, and by the time Eric died, that business had accumulated approximately $4.5 million in debt. Not thousands, millions. And yet, to the outside world, Kouri projected the image of a thriving businesswoman. Here is where it gets darker. According to prosecutors, the financial problems didn't stay in the business. They crept into the marriage, into the family home. And Eric, the man paying the bills, the man who built the business with his own hands, started to notice.
When Kouri and Eric married on June 15, 2013, they signed a prenuptial agreement. That prenup was very specific. It outlined that in the event of a divorce, several of Eric's key assets would remain in his ownership, his business interest, his equipment, his vehicles. But there was one crucial clause. If Eric died while they were still married, Kouri could claim those assets. Prosecutors would later argue that this clause became a blueprint for murder. Starting as early as 2015, Kouri began experiencing financial troubles and allegedly started taking money from Eric to fund her house flipping ventures. Then, in 2019, she did something that crossed a clear legal and ethical line. She borrowed $250,000 using a home equity line of credit on Eric's premarital home, without his knowledge or consent. She used a power of attorney to do it, funneling the money straight into her real estate company. Eric found out in October 2020, and according to court records, it shook the marriage to its foundation. That same month, Eric did two things that tell you everything about how seriously he took the discovery. He met with a divorce lawyer, and he met with an estate planning lawyer. He opened the Eric Richins Living Trust, a legal structure designed specifically to protect his assets and ensure that in the event of his death, everything went to his children, managed by his sister Katie, not to Kouri. He also transferred his business partnership interest into that trust. Eric Richins was protecting himself. He had seen what Kouri was capable of, and he was quietly, methodically building a wall around everything he had built. But Kouri had other plans. Between 2015 and 2017, she had already taken out 4 separate life insurance policies on Eric's life, totaling close to $2 million. Then, on January 1, 2022, just 2 months before Eric's death, she secretly changed the beneficiary on his $2 million life insurance policy to herself, without his knowledge, without his signature. She also took out a fresh, fraudulent insurance policy with his forged signature. At this point, Eric was worth significantly more to Kouri dead than alive, and she knew it.
But money wasn't the only motive. Prosecutors alleged during the trial that Kouri had reignited a romantic relationship with her ex-boyfriend, a man named Robert Josh Grossman, during the period of marital tension with Eric. Grossman, who had served in the military during the Iraq War, was working as a handyman. Grossman himself testified at trial. He described a conversation he had with Kouri roughly 2 weeks after Eric's death. She asked him, out of nowhere, whether he had ever killed anyone during his time in the military. She wanted to know how it made him feel. He said at the time he didn't think much of it. He took it as curious, not suspicious. But when you combine that conversation with everything else, the debt, the insurance policies, the forged documents, the fentanyl, the picture becomes devastatingly clear. Kouri wanted out of her marriage. She wanted Eric's money. She wanted a fresh start with someone else, and she wasn't willing to walk away empty-handed. A divorce would have stripped her of almost everything under that prenup, so she decided Eric had to die.
Now, here is where the story takes a chilling turn. Because Kouri Richins didn't know the illicit drug world. She wasn't connected to dealers. She was, as prosecutors described her, a suburban real estate agent who had never navigated the street drug market in her life. But she knew one thing. She knew what killed Michael Jackson. Prosecutors said that Kouri went to 2 people in her life and asked for what she called the Michael Jackson drug. She reportedly said she wanted something that was lethal, something that would kill. One of those people was her own housekeeper, a woman named Carmen Lauber. Lauber testified at trial that Kouri approached her multiple times and asked her to acquire drugs. She asked for stronger and stronger pills. Specifically, she asked for what Kouri called the Michael Jackson stuff. Lauber contacted a dealer and procured 15 to 30 fentanyl pills. The text messages between them told the story. On March 1, 2022, just 3 days before Eric's death, there were documented text exchanges between Kouri and Lauber. And on February 26, just days after the Valentine's Day attempt, Kouri asked Lauber for more pills. Lauber retrieved them. Days later, Eric Richins was dead. After his death, Lauber said she called Kouri. She told her, "Please tell me these pills were not for him." And Kouri's response? No, they were not. That phone call would become one of the most damning pieces of evidence in the entire case.
Here is something that many people don't know about this case. March 4, 2022 was not the first time Kouri Richins tried to kill her husband. Prosecutors alleged that on Valentine's Day,
February 14th, 2022, Kouri made Eric a sandwich from a local restaurant and laced it with fentanyl. It was her first attempt. It didn't work. Eric became very ill, and in the days that followed, he reportedly told a friend that he thought his wife was trying to poison him. Let that sink in. Eric Richins suspected his wife was trying to kill him. He told someone, and yet he was still in that house, still sleeping in that bed, still drinking whatever she put in front of him. Whether he was in denial, whether he couldn't bring himself to fully believe it, or whether he simply had nowhere to turn, we don't know. But 17 days after Valentine's Day, Kouri tried again. This time, she didn't fail. On the evening of March 3rd, 2022, Kouri made 2 Moscow Mule cocktails, a celebration, she told Eric, for the recent closing of a real estate deal. They sat on the bed together and drank. Then Kouri went to sleep in one of her son's rooms, she later told police. She said one of the boys was having nightmares and needed her. Approximately 6 hours later, she returned to the master bedroom. She said she turned over to put her arm around Eric, and he was, in her own words, just cold, like putting your arm over a cement brick. She called 911 at just after 3 a.m. on March 4, 2022. When paramedics arrived, they noted that Eric appeared to have been dead for some time. He was pronounced dead at 4:58 a.m. Eric Richins was 39 years old. In the immediate aftermath, authorities began looking into Eric's death. The autopsy came back with devastating results. Eric Richins had died of fentanyl intoxication. Not just fentanyl, illicit fentanyl. Not medical grade, not a prescription. Street fentanyl, the kind you don't accidentally ingest. And the level in his blood was approximately 5 times the lethal dosage. 5 times. The medical examiner also confirmed that the drug had been orally ingested, meaning it was in something he consumed, like a drink. Forensic pathologist Pamela Sue Alma testified that Eric had no signs of fatal heart disease, no stroke, and no other natural cause of death. There was nothing else that could have killed him. It was the fentanyl. Only the fentanyl. Investigators began piecing together the financial picture, the insurance policies, the forged signature, the secret loans, the prenup, the trust Eric had set up to protect his children. And then they found the text messages between Kouri and her housekeeper. The case was building, but investigators spent over a year gathering evidence before making their move. Meanwhile, Kouri Richins was living her life.
This is the part of the story that made the entire country stop and stare. Approximately 1 year after Eric's death, Kouri Richins sat down and wrote a children's book. The book was titled, Are You With Me? It was a story about a young child who had lost his father. The book's message was about grief, about finding comfort in the idea that even though Daddy was physically gone, his love and presence remained all around you. Kouri dedicated the book to her amazing husband, Eric. She went on television to promote it. She gave interviews as a grieving widow. She presented herself publicly as a devoted mother, trying to help her own children and others process the unbearable loss of their father. The book was self-published and went on sale. And then just weeks after she appeared on television to promote it, on May 8, 2023, more than a year after Eric's death, investigators arrested Kouri Richins for his murder. She was charged with aggravated murder and drug-related charges. She had been sitting across from cameras talking about grief while simultaneously being the person responsible for creating it. Prosecutors later described it as one of the most calculated displays of manipulation they had ever seen in a true crime case. She literally used her children's trauma to write and market a book and profited from the exact tragedy she had orchestrated. After Kouri's arrest, a juvenile court awarded custody of the 3 boys to Eric's family.
During the investigation, detectives dug into Kouri's search history. What they found was extraordinary. At some point after the murder, Kouri Richins had Googled the phrase, luxury prisons for the rich. She wasn't searching for how to escape suspicion. She wasn't searching for how to grieve. She was searching for what the nicest prison options would look like, apparently already aware on some level that she might end up behind bars. That search became a symbol of everything prosecutors argued about who Kouri Richins really was. Someone who calculated consequences, someone who planned ahead, someone who believed that even if she got caught, money and privilege would soften the blow. On top of the murder charges, prosecutors filed an additional 26 felony charges against Kouri Richins related to financial crimes committed in the years leading up to Eric's death. The charges included mortgage fraud, money laundering, issuing bad checks, and running money through shell businesses. Investigators alleged she used a power of attorney to obtain a $250,000 home equity line of credit on Eric's premarital home without his knowledge, funneling it into her real estate company. She also allegedly took out massive, high-interest hard money loans as her business was already defaulting on existing debts. By the time Eric died, prosecutors said Kouri's company was $4.5 million in the hole, and Eric, the man she had been secretly looting, was the only thing standing between her and total financial collapse. She could not divorce him. The prenup would strip her of everything, so she decided to bury him instead.
Kouri Richins' murder trial officially began in February 2026 in Summit County Court in Park City, Utah. It was 3.5 years after Eric's death, 3.5 years of investigations, court filings, delays, appeals, and legal maneuvers. 3.5 years of his boys growing up without their father. Prosecutors called more than 40 witnesses. The housekeeper, Carmen Lauber, took the stand and described in detail how Kouri had asked her to acquire drugs multiple times, asking specifically for the Michael Jackson stuff, something lethal, something fatal, something that kills. Friends and family of Eric testified about his character, his health, and his complete absence of any drug use history. Law enforcement and forensic witnesses walked the jury through the toxicology, the crime scene, and the chain of evidence. A former military boyfriend confirmed the deeply unsettling post-death conversation about what it feels like to kill someone. And financial experts laid out the staggering web of fraud, loans, forgery, and insurance manipulation that underpinned the entire motive. The defense, for its part, called the investigation sloppy and driven by confirmation bias. Defense attorney Wendy Lewis argued that the state had failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Kouri was responsible. She suggested Eric could have accidentally ingested fentanyl. She argued that grief affects people in ways that aren't fair to judge. The jury wasn't buying it. After the defense rested, without calling a single witness, closing arguments were delivered on March 16, 2026. Prosecutor Brad Bloodworth addressed the jury directly. He said, "Kouri Richins was a suburban mother, real estate agent. She does not know a lot about the illicit street drug world, but she knows Michael Jackson died from taking drugs. She doesn't know how to order a street drug, but she knows she wants the Michael Jackson stuff. She knows she wants it because it is lethal, it is fatal, it kills, and she wanted lethal, fatal death." He argued that the evidence pointed to only one conclusion. Kouri Richins murdered her husband. She attempted to murder him on Valentine's Day. She succeeded 17 days later. She committed insurance fraud, she forged documents, and she did all of it for money, for freedom, and for the man she wanted to be with next. The evidence proves that Kouri Richins attempted to murder Eric Richins, and that she committed 2 counts of insurance fraud and forgery, he said. The evidence does not support any other explanation.
On March 17, 2026, the jury returned a unanimous verdict. Guilty on all 5 counts: aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, 2 counts of fraudulent insurance claims, forgery. When the judge read the verdict, Kouri Richins lowered her head. She was wearing a floral blouse. She said nothing. Outside the courtroom, Eric's sister Amy spoke to reporters. "Our focus is now on honoring Eric's life and supporting his voice as we all continue to heal," she said.
The sentencing was scheduled for May 13, 2026. The date was not a coincidence. May 13th would have been Eric Richins' 44th birthday. Eric's family made sure of that. His sister Katie pointed it out directly during victim impact statements. She said, "Birthdays are supposed to be proof of life, a day to celebrate another year of growth." In the courtroom, Eric's sons, now teenagers and preteens, delivered or had their words read aloud.
One of them said simply, "I want her to go to prison forever." The courtroom was full of grief, of people who had spent 4 years carrying the weight of Eric's death, watching his killer stand trial and waiting for this moment. And then something extraordinary happened. As the victim impact statements were being delivered, court reporters and observers watching the proceedings noted that Kouri Richins was seen rolling her eyes, making faces, appearing dismissive as her husband's family poured out their pain in front of a judge. When Kouri herself finally spoke, for the first time publicly since the trial began, she addressed her sons directly. "I did not abandon you," she said. "I did not just walk out of your lives one day. I would never, ever, and I am so sorry." She insisted she had been trying to contact the boys for years. She claimed Eric's family had cut off all communication between them. "One day, when this is all over, we can sit down and talk about all of this, sort it all out. I promise you boys, one day it will be over," she said. She then said, "God did not put me in this world to take a life." She maintained her innocence. Right there in that courtroom, facing life in prison, she maintained her innocence. Judge Richard Mrzalik then addressed the court. He described the sequence of events with devastating precision. On Valentine's Day 2022, Kouri Darden Richins tried and failed to murder her husband and the father of her 3 children. Over the next 17 days, she did not think, "What have I done?" Rather, she thought, "How can I do better?" And then she murdered Eric in the presence of their children, using poison and for money. He sentenced Kouri Richins to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She is currently incarcerated. She still faces trial on an additional 26 separate felony financial charges, including mortgage fraud, money laundering, and shell company schemes. Those proceedings are ongoing. Her 3 sons remain in the custody of Eric's family.
There is something about this case that sits differently than most. Most true crime cases are driven by rage or impulse or mental illness or desperation in a single dark moment. You can trace the explosion back to a spark. But Kouri Richins planned this, methodically, over months. She researched the drug, she sourced the drug, she practiced with it, she failed, she tried again. And then, after she succeeded, she sat down, with full awareness of what she had done, and wrote a book about grief, a book for children, a book she used to present herself to the world as a mourning mother, a tragic widow, a woman who had lost her soulmate. She went on television, she gave interviews, she sold that book. And the whole time, Eric's boys were growing up without a father because of exactly what she had done to him. What makes this case so haunting isn't just the crime, it's the performance that came after, the calculation, the complete absence of remorse, the belief right up until the very end that she could convince the world she was innocent. She could not. On May 13th, 2026, what should have been Eric Richins' 44th birthday, Kouri Richins was sentenced to spend the rest of her natural life behind bars. For Eric, for his boys, for the family that never stopped fighting for him. Justice, in this case, was a long time coming, but it came.